Prime Minister Trudeau, keep your word. That was a stern message from Saskatchewan Premier Brad Wall directed to our fearless leader, Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister of Canada, when he did a bold thing in the House of Commons and he announced that the provinces had agreed unilaterally to a carbon pricing plan, and if they weren't going to do it, well, he was going to do it for them. This is what Justin Trudeau said. If the provinces don't get on board by 2018, the federal government will have to put in a national carbon price. So basically he's saying it's my way or the highway.
If neither price nor cap and trade is in place by 2018, the Government of Canada will implement a price in that jurisdiction.
Now, what's interesting about this, and I'm glad that Saskatchewan Premier Wall actually noted this, is that this is actually a rejection not only of former government policy, but of Justin Trudeau's former policy. You may remember this comment that he made in the Globe and Mail debate during the last federal election almost 1 year ago.
The idea of imposing a bureaucracy out of Ottawa, a cap-and-trade system on provinces like British Columbia that have already moved forward with a world-renowned carbon tax that is actually working for them, is actually a completely nonsensical plan. We are committed to working with the provinces to reduce emissions, to encourage them to hit those the targets needed so that we can contribute as a responsible country once again.
I've also noted publicly that the Prime Minister campaigned on a plan to allow provinces to meet targets in the way that suited their jurisdictions. I support it then, I support it now, and the work will be very important.
Now, Premier Wall posted that video on his own Facebook page, and as you saw at the end of it, he actually had his own statement on that, basically acknowledging this is a provincial issue, and he respects the Prime Minister's previous statement on that being a provincial issue. But a Facebook post that Brad Wall had posted just before that actually was a little bit more shooting from the hip, it seems. I cannot believe that while the country's environment ministers were meeting on a so-called collaborative climate change plan, the Prime Minister stood in the House of Commons and announced a carbon tax unilaterally. This meeting is not worth the CO2 emissions it took for environment ministers to get there. The level of disrespect shown by the Prime Minister and his government today is stunning. This is a betrayal of the statements made by the Prime Minister in Vancouver this March, and his new tax will damage our economy. Now, Nova Scotia Premier Stephen McNeil has been equally incredulous, talking about the impact this will have on rural residents in Nova Scotia. Even Rachel Notley is paying lip service to the idea in Alberta that this could have an economic impact. You see, Trudeau's thinking everyone's like Ontario Premier Kathleen Wynne, who is equally as disrespectful to the taxpayers' money as he is, who thinks that you can just put a tax on everything, that's what a carbon price is, and you know what, the budget will balance itself. Let's borrow a line from Trudeau when we're talking about this. But this is actually very concerning because we are a confederation, which means that even though we do have a national government, we do have provinces that exist as individual entities, and they have the right to determine their own policy. And again, look at expanding the pension plan. This is something that the Ontario government was going to do until the federal government said, all right, we're going to do it for everyone. And now the federal government is threatening all the provinces with a carbon price that will be implemented nationally. So if a province doesn't do what Trudeau thinks it should, he's going to do it for them, which is not only disrespectful, not only is it authoritative and top-down government, but it is not what the Canadian government is supposed to be like. Provinces have their own jurisdiction, and thank goodness that Premier Wall is the lone voice standing up to make sure Canadians are aware of that. For the Rebel.media, I'm Andrew Lawton. If you liked what you saw, make sure to go to therebel.media and check out all of the other great content, videos, all sorts of things that we have for you. And if you want to join the fight and make sure that we can continue to fight against big government at every turn, consider becoming a premium member. It's not expensive. You can do it at therebel.media and get access to all kinds of exclusive content that only we can bring you.